In case you were not paying attention, I am now running Pop! OS with XFCE instead of GNOME. Hey everyone, what's happening? And today we're discussing my experience right now with XFCE on top of Pop! OS instead of running GNOME. And we're going to be looking at my desktop in a minute because I've made a couple more changes since I did the configuring video. But as you may know, I've made this change based off of philosophical difference. As you know, I have made this change because of philosophical. As you may know, I have made this change because As you may know, I have made this change because of philosophical differences that I have for the GNOME Foundation. If you want to know more about that, that'll be up in this corner up here. But we're not going to dive into that. We're just going to be talking about my experience in changing to the desktop environment. So here we are on my desktop. As you can see, I've changed the wallpaper. This actually comes from Derek over on DistroTube's GitLab. I just pulled down his collection of wallpapers for now because I don't know where my collection of wallpapers is in my backups. I gotta find those. But for now, this works. As you can see, I've chosen the standard menu for XFCE, and I will be changing some of this and trying to condense some of this into different areas of my menu. But other than that, this is pretty much what I have. Now you can go ahead and change it to the Whisker menu, and I do have that installed. At least I believe I have that installed. Let me check here. It would be the Whisker menu. Yep, I could swap it out for the Whisker menu, but really this works. And honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of the Whisker menu. I think it's a little clunky, but that's my personal opinion. I don't really care about having this. Of course, I'm maintaining 4 workspaces active, and of course, I have my system tray. Now, there is one little hiccup I had. Actually, it wasn't a little hiccup. It was a big hiccup. I went to remove all the rest of the straggling GNOME components. And what I did was I uninstalled the wrong thing, and I ripped out most of the GTK libraries that XFCE and LightDM depend on. And yeah, that kind of broke my system. Well, then didn't kind of break my system. It did break my system. Like, it would not start anything. I had to drop to a TTY, and luckily, before I started ripping things out, I had made a snapshot with time shift. Time shift, very useful, by the way. Use it. And yeah, so I was able to restore it and fix it. So that's been my experience with changing to XFCE with Pop! OS, and it works about the same with any Ubuntu-based system when you're changing desktop environments, except for that little hiccup I had. Well, that big hiccup I had a pretty smooth experience. The moral of that story is pay attention to what you're doing when you're ripping things out of your system, and that was really my fault because I did a force on something that I shouldn't have. I should have listened to what my package manager was telling me, and I didn't, and that was my fault, because if you force something to do something while you're running as root, your machine is going to do it whether it's going to break your system or not. So, yeah, be careful. Now, do I recommend installing Pop! OS with the intention of changing your desktop environment to XFCE or something else? The answer is no. The only situation where I would say this would be a recommended course of action is if you already had an operating system installed, say Pop! OS, like me, and you decided I want to change my desktop environment without wiping out the system. If you're going to wipe out the system and do a clean install, you might as well just pick a Linux distribution that has your preferred desktop environment pre-installed, because you're going to run into a lot less problems. You're not going to have a bloated install. I do kind of have a slightly bloated install because I did this. The bottom line is, if you're going to do a clean install, pick a distribution that has your preferred desktop environment. It'll be a lot easier. And this is strictly a quality of life recommendation. Now, there's nothing wrong with changing your desktop environment. Linux is designed to do it, obviously, but yeah, that's pretty much my recommendation. If you like this video, go ahead and give it that thumbs up. If you didn't, that's what that thumbs down button is for. And go ahead and click that subscribe button. It really helps the channel out when you do that. Share the video, share the channel. I'm really trying to get the subscriber base back up to where it was. I was getting about 50 subs a month over the past 2 months before I took my little leave of absence that I had. I'd like to get that back up to that number if you can help me out with that. And I will see you in the next video. If you like my content and wish to support my work, you can do so on Patreon. The link is in the description. Also, if you wish to see more, check out the videos on your screen.